Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Ian is Weird. So today, and throughout the next couple videos, I thought I would take like a step-by-step approach to like what I would consider like a flawless or like kind of like a flawless slash beginner friendly or easier way to approach certain aspects of your makeup. Like maybe you feel really good about the face, but like you struggle with eyes, maybe you struggle with eyebrows, things like that. I felt like maybe just like breaking it down into parts so that people could focus on what they do struggle with the most might be more helpful than just an entire video where like a bunch of information is thrown at you. And then also there's a ton of other people making makeup videos and everybody's got a different opinion. So you can take these tricks, you can try them, and if you don't like them, then you can just toss them, right? Like if you don't like it, who cares, right? Not hurting my feelings. So today I'm gonna start with my foundation. Now, I think that more people think that they need foundation than actually do. I think a lot of people, if they really want a little bit of coverage for redness or breakouts or something like that, they can really get away with concealer and or a little bit of face powder. I think that you don't need like a full, coverage everything. I'm gonna go for a fuller coverage look, but I will show you what I would have done if I just did concealer as well. So I think that priming, um, it's kind of talked about like it's a necessary step for so many people. And for me, I struggled so long to find a primer that did anything at all that I'm actually really on the fence about this one. For me, I was able to find a primer that actually did something, two primers actually that actually do something for me. So I'm going to use them. But especially if you have drier skin, I think just having a quality moisturizer can be a great primer. I don't necessarily think you need one, but try out things, see what works, and don't beat yourself up if like you're like everyone else is using the primer and it looks great on them, and then my makeup slides off of me. Like if I put anything with silicone on my face, like dimethicone, it just like slides right off of me. So I've had to experiment over the years because those were the only products that were available. So I'm going to go ahead and prime my face. Now I use two primers and I don't mean to be extra about that, but I do find that these two primers work really well on me. And even if I'm just doing like a concealer day, I do use these primers. So I use the MAC Studio Fix Mattifying 12-Hour Shine Control Primer. So this is what it looks like. It's easy tube like that. And then I have the One Size Secure the Blur Makeup Magnet Primer from One Size. So I start with the MAC Studio Fix. And I would say a little bit larger than a pea size amount. You need like a little bit more than maybe you would use for your moisturizer, but you don't need like a ton. I think that there's a fine balance. So with this one, anywhere that I tend to get shiny and my makeup tends to break down, I like to use this one. And even in the texture of it, it almost has like a silky texture to it rather than like a really um, like slimy texture almost. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes sense. And anywhere that like my makeup doesn't really stick, like anywhere that it likes to just like walk away mid shift, I will put that there. But I don't put. I guess I put it on most places. Now I use an eye cream that's moisturizing, but it absorbs into the skin and it doesn't really leave any residue. So I don't really do anything under my eyes, any primer under my eyes. Otherwise, I find that the more I try to put stuff under my eyes, the more greasy that happen. You see the more product buildup and everything. So once you're satisfied with how you've put that on your face, I'm going to use this One Size primer. I do use less of this because I just use it on the places where my pores are giant, like big, huge potholes. So my cheeks are terribly huge pored, I guess. And I also have some acne pitting from second puberty, yay! And then some on the forehead, just a little bit though. And this helps just kind of smooth things out, which really helps my makeup settle well. And I think a lot of people talk about like filling in like pores and stuff like that. And really all makeup does is sit on top of your face. So like there's no like it's not spackle, right? It's just like a superficial covering. So it's important to consider that like, you know, it's everything sitting on top of your face rather than inside your face holes. I don't know why I said it like that. I do apologize. So there's multiple ways you can. There's multiple ways that you can. What was I going to say? So I'll show you the concealer method first, and then I'll talk about foundation. I usually have my concealer like right there. So I have tried quite a few concealers in my life. The ones that I have gravitated to the most are these Revolution, the Makeup Revolution London Conceal and Define ones. They've got a good shade range, especially in the light range. Like when they first came out, they didn't have something quite light enough for me, but they've expanded their range to have something for people who are super fair. And then they have different undertones for that. And then C0, I think it's just like straight white. I know they have a deeper range, but because I haven't practiced makeup on other people for a while, I can't testify to the quality of the undertones for these darker shades. So if you've tried them and you do have deeper skin, let me know what you think, because I don't want to recommend them for deeper skin tones if they're just not punching it up enough. So I have 3 shades. So the shade that matches my skin tone pretty perfectly is the shade C4. And then kind of my like lightning shade is C1. And then if I want to go really light, like maybe like right here or something like that, do a lot of like lifting and highlighting, I can use C.5. They even have like C.25 and C.1 that get really light. So I'll just show you kind of how I apply. On myself and for my own makeup, I apply directly from the tube. You can definitely tell that these are, you know, they've been well loved. Now, you don't need to apply it. It looks like I just applied a bunch, but because it's drier, and I've used a lot, it's not as much as it seems. I get really red in like the corners of my nose, but I don't like to put a lot of product there because product tends to settle there for me. So if I wanted to just spot conceal, that's what I could do. Now, the longer you let it sit, the more coverage it's going to have. This is a drier concealer. It's not super wet in the first place, which I really like. I don't like really watery and like wet concealers. I find that they crease really heavily. They come off really easily, and I kind of don't really understand why anybody likes them, but you know, Float your boat, float your boat. So you can use a concealer brush. This is one I got at like, it's flat, it's compact. This is one I got at like a CVS or something. You don't have to have fancy brushes. I think good brushes are important, but you don't have to spend a lot of money to have good brushes. I think Morphe has a great selection of brushes that are affordable, that you can get exactly what you need. You can buy like single brush by single brush. So if you want, you can just conceal, you can just take the brush and move around the edges to conceal it, or you can take your finger and, you know, move it around like that. Now, if you're doing color correcting, you do want to do that before you do your concealer. And you want to make sure your concealer is pigmented enough or your foundation is pigmented enough to cover up the color correcting. Because, like, let's say you're covering up a 5 o'clock shadow and you do like a big bright orange color correction. You got to make sure that you're wearing enough foundation, something that has enough coverage that's going to cover that orange. You also want to You also want to make sure that that it's I'm just tapping it. I'm not rubbing it. I think when we first start doing makeup, a lot of us, we just rub things on, and that's kind of just taking away product from your face. You tap it on, you're taking away very little product, and you're just kind of blending it into the skin, and it really helps it just look like your skin. Nothing too fancy there. So that's what it looks like if I just apply my skin tone concealer. Now, I'm going to show you the placement for my like lighter color concealer once I have more foundation on, because it would be putting it on twice and not really, you know, what I like to do. So what I'm going to do is oh my gosh, I'm so clumsy, and I'm having a day where like I'm even clumsier than normal. Let me wet my sponge. So there are a lot of ways to apply your foundation. There's a lot of different types of foundation. There's powder foundation, there's liquid foundation, there's cream foundation, there's stick foundation. There's so many different options. Different ones are going to give you different results. Certain ones have different consistencies. So it's kind of, you know, learning about your skin, and sometimes it's a little bit of, actually, usually it's a little bit of a trial and error process. So, like, for example, like when L'Oreal came out with the Infallible Pro Matte and then they came out with the Infallible Pro Glow, people were raving about it. They loved it. Well, first of all, it made me break out like crazy. And also, it did not look good on me. Even once they came out with a color that was finally light enough, it just didn't look good on me. And so I couldn't dwell on that. I just had to move on, right? And so I have two foundations that I like. One is drugstore and one is not drugstore. It's, I would say, I guess it falls in the mid-range, even though it's like close to luxury price. It's really hard to tell these days because things are so expensive. I think that if you are experimenting with some foundation and you're looking for a lighter coverage and like, I kind of try to, like, when I'm doing like a makeup consultation or something like that, I'm really trying to figure out what kind of coverage people want. And the thing is, a lot of people, um, they like the airbrushed and beautiful look of like a full coverage foundation, but they don't like the heaviness or like all of that on their face. And so, like, I really feel like a medium coverage foundation is kind of like the best fit for a lot of people who are looking for that look. But some people are looking for lighter coverage foundations, and they're just kind of looking to even out their skin tone a little bit. With the kind of popularization of like BB creams and CC creams, there's definitely that option. But for me, I'm kind of like, just get concealer and do that. I've never, like, I was like, back in the day, I was mixing like face cream and foundation to basically do the same thing. So to me, it's always been like a little bit like okay, like we're doing the same thing, but whatever. But if you like it, you like it. That's cool. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. But one thing that people do struggle with, especially with maturing skin, is trying to figure out how to get foundation on their skin that just doesn't cake up as much. I remember when I was working on mature skin more regularly, my go-to recommendation was the, like, especially drugstore, um, was the CoverGirl in Olay cream, not the liquid. I don't like the liquid, but the cream. It's got the swirls in it. You can get it at Walmart. It's cheap at Walmart, but you can get it at like other places. And the cream, I really do like that. So if you are struggling to find something that works, because most people with mature skin are also dealing with drier skin and dehydrated skin. So that gives you a little bit of moisture because it's got that Olay moisturizer in it, and then it gives you some coverage. So I really, really remember liking that one. I don't know if they've reformulated or anything. So I'm dealing with 15-year-old knowledge at this point. So the two foundations that I go to are the Milani Conceal and Perfect 2-in-1 foundation and concealer. I am in the color 00A Porcelain. If it's winter or if I want to go a little paler, I will add the LA Girl Pro Color foundation mixing pigment. Now they have there's two different colors of the mixing pigments. You can add it to any liquid or cream foundation. They have the white to make it a smidge lighter or a lot lighter. You can't just use this by itself though. It doesn't look good. I wouldn't suggest it. You can do whatever you want. They also have a blue which makes your foundation less orange. Because it's on the opposite side of the color wheel. So if that's something, you can't find something that fits your undertone because things are always too orange, that is an option too. And then I also have the Hourglass, what are they called? Vanish sticks. And these are stick foundations. This one's really light for me right now, but in the wintertime, it's perfect. And I really don't get a lot of sun throughout the year. Throughout the summer. This year was just kind of a weird year where it happened to. So don't judge me. Now, there are multiple ways to apply your foundation. You can use a beauty sponge. You can use the original Beauty Blender, which, I've heard is amazing. I've actually never used one because there's so many other alternatives. I wouldn't recommend like going to like the cheapest place that sells them and just being like, it's a sponge, I can apply my makeup with it, because it's super roll of the dice there. I Real Techniques, I've heard mixed things. I have had great results with Morphe. Great results with Morphe. And their beauty sponge. So that's the one that I think that's what this is. I know when they did like a partner or like a collaboration, they did one, and I got some other ones, but this is what I'm using now. But I think this is Morphe. but if it's not, oops. I don't think it's Real Techniques though. So I apply my foundation on the back of my hand. You can use a makeup palette like this. You can use a anything that you want that's easy to clean and non-porous. Obviously, you know, if you're doing makeup on other people, you want to use a palette. You want to keep it sanitary. You want to keep things clean. You want to have clean brushes, clean sponges, everything. You can also use makeup brushes, foundation brushes. My favorite brushes, if I'm going to use one, it's kind of like a thick paddle brush, kind of like this concealer brush that I showed you earlier, but just larger. You know, some people like using a stippling brush. Those like, what were they? Not Artiste, but like those brushes that had the, I can't describe the shape, that had the shape, that were really popular like 10 years ago. If you find it something that you like to apply your foundation, go for it. I would say fingers, I just really have never thought that makeup looked great when applied that way, personally. And I just, you know, if you like the way it looks, great, but I do think that you're wiping off so much product because you wipe it all over your face and then half of the product is on your hands. Now, it's important to consider your skin type and everything when you're looking for foundations. You know, if you're oily, you're going to probably go for something a little bit more matte, and then you can choose where you want, you know, a little shine in your face. I'm just going to go in and stop talking and start up bouncing all around, making sure to get in the nooks and crannies, right? It's a little hard to get around my jewelry, but I like to pretend that I don't care. You want to go down your neck. Now, makeup color matching can be really difficult. So I always suggest if you get matched in store, wear it around, go outside, take pictures in natural light, go in different lights, try to take a picture. Because that can be really, really helpful. And you don't have to buy a foundation and, you know, you wear it all the time, and then one time you're out at a birthday party and someone takes a picture and you're like, that's unfortunate. Now, typically we like to match the neck or like the chest because that is kind of your truest tone. A lot of people carry like redness, hyperpigmentation, discoloration in their face, and that's what they want to cover. And when they put this on, they want it to match this. Typically, that's how most people color match. Now, there are, you know, some places that do like scanning, and they'll try to find your perfect color match, and they'll scan a couple different spots. A lot of people like to do like the underside of the wrist. It's up to, you know, how you like your color to work. But color matching is hard. So don't feel bad if you are having trouble with it. And also, getting undertones right is challenging because a lot of us do struggle with seeing our own undertones. I struggle with finding the right color for so long, and what's made it easier for me now is that, like, I'm so fair that, like, pretty much, like, everything that's as light as I am is neutral. If it's cool, oh my gosh, it looks not great on me, but that's okay. On my neck, I'll do a little bit of dragging because, like, I don't need it to be as much coverage as I put on my face. Now, I call this like egg mode, where you're kind of like all the same color. It might look like I have a lot of foundation on. It might look like I don't have a lot of foundation on. Really, I did like a pump and a half maybe. So I don't think you need that much makeup. If you want that like full coverage, a lot of the foundations that they're putting out now are buildable. So I could build this up to a fuller coverage. I just don't really care to because I'm gonna put so much shit on top of it that it's like who cares, right? That's my attitude on things. Um, but yeah, so I did not put really much of anything under my eyes. There's a little bit of product, but there's not much. Again, I kind of try to keep that product under my eye where I am prone to creasing fairly light, because why, like, if I have a good enough concealer, why would I need to do that? Just my attitude on things. You're gonna hear me say the same thing like 50 different times. I apologize. So now I'm gonna go in with my concealer. So we're in the wet stage of our makeup, and you can stop anytime, you can skip steps, do whatever feels right for you and how you like to do your makeup. Now, I find that there is a lot of people now are doing their makeup in a way that like everyone seems to have like the same map on their face of how they highlight and contour and blush and everything. I have never personally loved that. I like to kind of look at the features and see what I feel like people want or they tell me that they want. Now, I have a wider face. It's slimmer now, and my jaw is a little bit more pronounced thanks to the miracle of testosterone. But I highlight different things than maybe someone else would. If you have a larger forehead, maybe you want to bronze more, you want to highlight less of your forehead. So just kind of considering your features rather than trying to like put someone else's map on your face and wondering why you don't necessarily love the way your makeup looks. Like I know so many people who like they don't like blush because they're like it makes my face look huge or it makes my face look rounder, and I'm like, well, you're applying it like everybody else is, and maybe that's not the best route for you. I have to apply my blush in a very specific way if I want it to look like I want it to look. So I'm going to take my lighter color, not the lightest, because I'm not going to go crazy in this video and I don't feel like it's necessary. And I don't do color corrector underneath my eyes. You can, if you want to, you could also do color corrector now if you want before this step. But for me, what I like to do, like I said, because I have a very round face, it's wider too. So I kind of like to pretend that this part doesn't exist. So I'm not going to put anything light past this, otherwise it's going to bring it forward. Highlighting brings things forward. So I actually just do this, and then sometimes we'll do it a little bit down as well, because I feel like it kind of gives me a little bit more of an angular face. I like to make it look like my chin is stronger than it is. This is a totally personal thing. And then my jawline. And then because I like the look of having like a brow that's kind of overarching, this is just masculizing. I will do kind of above where my eyebrows meet, I'll do a little bit of highlight there. Now, some people like to put highlight on their nose and all that. With me, makeup is really strange on the nose, and some people it just doesn't hold very well. So the nose can be another problem spot. Again, if you want your concealer to be more pigmented, you can leave it on longer, and it'll kind of settle, become more pigmented. Me, I'm just gonna go ahead and blend. If you're using a beauty blender or any substitute, make sure your beauty blender is wet the whole time you're using it. Never really use a dry one. I can't think of any instance right now. With this, I'm not moving the product around, I'm just bouncing it exactly where I placed it. And because it's not that liquidy, I can just do this and it's not going to be like all over the place. Sometimes I'm not thinking and I do apply it all over the place, but that's okay. And one thing for me that is when I'm doing my own makeup, I know that not everyone is into this, but I'm not trying to look like I am 16 and have, slept 10 hours a night for every night of my life. Like, I'm okay with age appropriate, like, I'm okay with looking my age, like, it's fine. So I don't need my under eyes to be like white because I'm not trying to convince anyone that I'm 16 again or whatever. Not that any other part of me would convince them. But I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything. Now, if you do want your cheekbones to look higher and you want to kind of expand your face a little bit, or you want kind of a little bit more of a heart-shaped face or more oval face and your face is fairly thin, you can go further with your concealer, and that's what a lot of people do. They go further with their concealer, and that gives them that high cheekbone out here. But like I said, I like to kind of minimize out here a lot. I kind of like to minimize a lot. Now, I do think that liquid contour is a very case by case basis. I think that it's easier to apply in powder form, but I can show you what I do with the liquid. And I had a really hard time finding a good color for me because I'm so freaking pale. But this is the e.l.f. Halo Glow Beauty Wand Contour in the color Fair/Light. Now, this one, it is very hard to get an even amount of product out at the same time. I found so like I'll squeeze it and it'll be like a ton of product and then there'll be like a little bit of product. So I will use the palette back in my hand, whatever you're using, to get some out. Cause like, what if that was all on my face? And then what you can do, if you want to apply it from the tube, is you can use the applicator. So one thing that I think that a lot of people could benefit from when they contour is instead of finding your cheekbone, opening your mouth, finding your cheekbone, all of that stuff, and placing your contour there, I find if you go like one finger width above it, I find it very lifting. I find it very flattering on pretty much every face shape. I wish that I think that it would look good on a lot of people. So I go higher than a lot of people do go with their contour because I just find it lifts the face and it looks great. Now, contouring in your temple. Looks good, kind of gives you a nice, it really helps that cheekbone lift. So I'm going to do it on the other side as well. If you did highlight your nose and you want to contour, you can do that. For me, sometimes I find that I just want a little color in the center of my face. So I'll do just like the tip of my nose and my nostrils. Just because I feel like sometimes it's like, where's the color? But I know a lot of people are doing blush, so that's okay. I find that if you have contour on, bronzer on, and you don't do some semblance of color around your head, your forehead, it just looks weird. I don't know what it is. It's witchcraft, it's magic, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. And then the jawline is something that a lot of people like to do, especially if you have a little going on like me. So where I put my concealer, I'm gonna go just past that. Now I'm gonna go a little bit sharper. Well, I guess most people go fairly sharp, but there's now I'm going to look straight ahead, do my chin, kind of again right below where I highlighted. Now I have, some small checkers. And so instead of turning to the side and following my jawline, if I do that, I still have those features. So instead I look straight ahead and I draw over them. Because, it's just makeup, who cares? And your lines might not meet up. The good thing about the liquid and the cream process is if you mess up or if something's a little bit too much or too little, it's super easy to fix. Powder is harder to fix, so that's a benefit to doing creams. Now, this is something that I do that most people don't do, most people don't need to do, but I like doing it, so I do it. Only with the cream, oh, actually, sometimes with the powder, because I told you I like to kind of skinify my face. I don't know, that sounded really weird. I'm just going to draw a line straight down my face and kind of color it in a little bit. And this blends out super easy and it's super light. So it's not a noticeable, you painted this huge spot in your face, I think, but no one's told me otherwise yet. Okay, so I'm gonna clean off my hand real quick. And then I'm going to go in and I'm going to blend out my contour. Now you can take your contour, if you wanted to enhance your cheeks a little bit more, instead of curling up, that's what a lot of people do. They curl up, and I'm like, if you want your cheeks to look fuller and rounder, you can curl up. If you want your cheeks to look a little bit more sculpted, you can curl down just a little bit, kind of right around this point, and it'll help them look more sculpted. But again, we're gonna just, where we are, just hit it with the Beauty Blender. And because this is a cool tone, it doesn't look crazy. Like, because it's a contour color rather than a bronzer, which a lot of people kind of use interchangeably. But back when I started doing makeup, it was so, everything changes. And uh, it was very clear that like you were doing the shadows of the face with a contour color. So the shadows of my face are going to be a really cool toned grayish brown. And that was kind of the important part. Now when you're blending out the neck, if you're gonna pull at all, like keep that line like sharp at the top and then blend down a little bit. So all the hard work you did, still looks good. Now for some of you, you might be like, too many steps, this is a lot, okay, whatever, I'm not doing that shit. Okay, that's cool, you don't have to. These are all very optional steps. I just want to kind of show you what like I would like when I want to do like the most, or like not the most, because the most would be like my drag looks, but like if I'm doing like all of these things when I'm doing drag, like I use the same principles, I just do them in like more contrasting colors. So you can pick and choose what you like. Now, also, I forgot, with my masculizing thing, I'll do a line in between my eyebrows. Cute unibrow look. And I'll blend that out. And that kind of helps with that overhang, big old brow bone look. But that's just me. So that's what I would do. Now, I don't really use any cream blushes, but if you did, you could use them now. Now, everything that you do now will, the pigmentation of it, like your contour, your highlight, well, not really your highlight, but like your contour, everything, your blush, if you do a cream blush, it's all going to be kind of diluted once you powder everything. So if you go a little bit harder, on your blush, your cream blush, with this part, it's fine, just something to consider. Now, you can use a face tone setting powder, or face tone powder to set everything. But personally, that's not my favorite way to do it, and I don't think a lot of people do that these days. It's just, preference. But for me, I really like setting translucent setting powder. I find that it just attaches, because it's more finely milled than your typical pressed, or even like, than your pressed powders. Because it's finely milled, I find that it just attaches to all of like those wet molecules on your face, and it just holds them better. Personally, that's what I find. Do with that information what you will. So I use Coty Airspun. It's available at drugstores and Walmart. I use the extra coverage one. I find that one's a little bit better. I don't know why. It does smell exactly like Grandma's house. And I'm not the only person who said that, which is interesting that we all have this like core memory. So this is about how much I will use. And you can use a big fluffy brush, but because if you're drier, I would suggest a fluffier brush. Not like a full kabuki brush, but maybe a brush like this, where it's fluffy, but it's still compact enough. Whereas if you're oily, like I am, especially in your T-zone, I would suggest using a puff and really just jamming it in there, because that's going to really make sure that you have a little bit more oil protection. That's what I find. So I'll take the puff and just really go for it. Just press it in. Now, some people will beat their face, like totally fine. You can do that. A step that I didn't mention, but you want to check before you powder to make sure you don't have any creases or anything in your makeup, because once you powder, you are setting those creases in there. Places that people commonly crease under their eyes, around their nose, smile lines, and crow's feet. So keep all of those places in mind. And if those are places that you know you're likely to crease, right before you do your powder, right before you do it. You can even do one and then you can do powder one and then do your powder. It makes a huge difference. Really just jamming it in there. And this is where, so doing kind of just like the remnants of the powder in the top of the container, I'll powder the rest of it. But where I get oily, you better believe that I'm just jamming it in there. Say jamming it in there one more time. So if you are dry, or you have dry spots, let that sit for like 20-30 seconds. Brush it off with a big old fluffy powder brush. My favorite has fallen into my tray, I think. Where's my favorite brush? I'm very unorganized, y'all. Okay. Oh, wait, there it is. So, big old fluffy powder brush. So if you get dry in a place, just get the powder on, let it sit and adhere to the wet makeup, and then get it off, because if you let that powder sit too long, it's going to get really crusty. It's just not going to look great. Anywhere that you get oily or your makeup comes off faster, you're going to want to let that powder sit a little bit longer, kind of as long as you can. It's not going to really hurt anything, because it might look just like a little bit powdery at first. However, it does look better. One thing that if you are maturing and you're noticing more fine hairs on your face, or if you, sorry, I'm so popular on Facebook, I'm sorry. Or if you do have some facial hair, powder is going to exaggerate that. So just keep that in mind. You can do things like microblading. Just be really, really careful. Make sure you're doing it as safely as possible. Or you can just accept that that's part of your face and that's cool. Like, there's no big deal about that. But more powder is going to enhance the look of that. So one way around that, if you do still have to powder, is using a spray that's like hydrating, or even like the Evian like water spray, because then it'll kind of attach to the little. I'm sorry. You know, So I'm going to kind of let this sit where it is, because all these places for me need it. Once I've let this sit an adequate amount of time, what I'll do is I will start removing the powder. Now, a lot of people, if you're going to go straight into your eyeshadow, a lot of people do struggle with having fallout or just excess eyeshadow fall onto their cheeks after they've done their face. And then they try to wipe it away, and we've all been there. We've all been there. No judgment, we've all been there. A trick for that is having loose, translucent powder under your eyes, because then once you're done with your eye makeup, if you keep that on, that loose powder on there, you can just sweep it off and it's fine. Now, important note, if you sweep off translucent powder and eyeshadow, don't do this. Don't do that. And this is also my trick with glitter as well. Because glitter is, heinous to get off the face. So what I'll do is I'll sweep it off and then I'll kind of like tap it, or like I do this like whipping my arm with my brush. I don't know where I got that from, but it makes sure that I get it off my brush, and then you can go back in if there's any excess. You don't just please don't do that. I've seen it backfire, and it's backfired for me way too many times. So I'm gonna take off any excess powder. Now, if you do have a deeper complexion, it might be worth looking into translucent powders that do have some tone to them, especially when, and even if you don't, even if you're as light as me, you can be the victim of the flashback Mary movement. And if you don't know that cultural reference, it's when you try to take a picture with flash and your translucent powder does a lot of talking for you. One way you can avoid this, no matter your skin tone, is to put a skin toned powder. So I have the One Size Skin Tone Versatile Foundation Powder, and I have the color Fair 3. And you can just sweep some of that on to you. If I'm not going out, if there's no way someone's going to get a picture of me like that, I don't do that additional step because that's just more powder for me to deal with. And I just tried to avoid that. Now, if you can see, I have a small mustache growing in, and all of the hairs on my lip are highlighted by the amount of powder that I have. So that's what I was talking about with the process of if you've got hairs going on. And the thing is, like, if you didn't have makeup on, people probably wouldn't see most of them. So it can enhance it, and that's why a lot of people, they're like, oh, I just don't want to wear makeup anymore because it makes it just makes things look worse. It's like, okay, well, we can work with that actually. So, just give things a try. You don't like it, take it off. It's makeup. Try it at home, give it a shot. You don't like it, take it off. Now, what I'm going to do, see, we can see that the contour and everything looks a lot more natural. It looks a lot more skin-like, and all the, like my crazy huge pores. I'm sorry. I'm not like verklempt by my beauty. I'm trying to hold in burps. All my contour work and all that is much more subtle. Even my under eye concealer, much more subtle. Looks a lot more like skin. My pores are still looking solid, that's why the primer is super great. And now we are going to go into contour, bronzing, highlighting, and blush, and all of the powder products, because we've completed the cream product of our perfect face, and now we're going to work on the powder products of our perfect face. And again, this is my opinion. If you don't agree, if you don't want to do some steps, totally fine. It's all good. So usually, if I'm doing just like my normal, typical makeup, I skip a powder contour, and I will go straight into a bronzer just because we're kind of in the age of, we're in the bronze age. And people kind of like to use bronzer for both contouring and bronzing purposes. So I just use a bronzer. This can be, again, the pale complaint. This can be a little bit difficult to find if you are a little bit fair. So finding something that's not super orange is difficult. I don't even know if they still sell this. This is the Haus Labs Heat Spell. This is the color Savannah and Sun. It's a bronzer and highlighter duo. And then this, just to show you the difference between the two, this is the Catrice Prime and Fine. I don't even know if this is available anymore. A lot of my makeup, it's been a while. This is the Professional Contouring Palette. It's got a highlighter, a matte, that's slight shimmer to it, but not barely. A matte contour, and the Haus Labs is a matte bronzer. So see how they're both pretty similar tones, but this has a lot more warmth to it, and this is a lot cooler. So this is why contour and bronzer are different. But most people are using things like this these days to kind of pull the weight of both. And that's fine. That's cool. I'm fine with that. A lot of people really like the butter bronzer from Physicians Formula. If you're looking for a bronzer available at the drugstore. So I always start with less. It's really easy to go way too crazy with your bronzer, and then you gotta back it off with more face powder and all that stuff. I use a brush that is tapered like this and is fairly small relative to my face, but it's not super small. Sometimes if I want like a really specific shape to my face, I'll take like an even smaller brush, even an eyeshadow brush, and that'll help me kind of define exactly where, like drag looks, I'll do stuff like that. But just for daily stuff, I can go with a brush like this. I don't like angled brushes. They just don't work for me, but some people really like them. So experiment with brushes. So I'm just gonna go in the same place that I did, sweeping up and away. And then kind of in circular motions, because I don't want like a big streak on my face. It's just not my preferred way to look. But, do you, I suppose. Tap off any excess. Do not blow on your brush, please. It's not cute. It's gross. There's so much bacteria in your mouth. And then you're putting it in your makeup, and then you're going to close your makeup, and you're going to have that makeup for a year at least. Just don't do that. I'm also reinforcing that kind of like how much I put on the outside of my face. Basically, anywhere I put the cream contour, I'm putting the bronzer. Now, when I started doing makeup, this would have been outrageous. So it's fun to see things change. Change can be good. Change can be not good. That's okay. Probably use a small brush for that, but I did not. Did I hit pan? I hit pan. Let me go. And I like to really just kind of move that contour down the neck with the powder, just because you can get this weird floating head effect if you don't. Now that's plenty of bronzer for me. Some people like more, some people like less. I feel like it's important to really focus your concentration and not just like big brush, contour, blush. But if you like the way that looks, then just this whole video is gonna be just like, do what you want. I don't care. Like, that's really helpful. You came to me for guidance and I gave you nothing. So that's all the contour that I'm going to do. And next I'm going to do blush. Now, people who have complexions like I do, where, see, I have some pink tones in my skin, but I have more yellow. And so I do actually like fall like true neutral. But I could like, some people are like, you could pull warm, but really it's like a true neutral. But I pretty much under no circumstance can wear a pink blush. It doesn't look good on me. Now, if I get something that's more like true magenta purple, I can do that. But pink is really hard for me. So I'm pretty much, if you see me wear a pink blush, you're gonna know that I am hating my makeup that day. So I find that peach looks really good on my complexion. And pink, and even just straight up like bright oranges. So usually that's where I will fall into, and I find that it's actually very complementary to most skin tones, like that color range, but not everybody likes that. So if that's not your thing and you prefer pink blush, go for it. I'm not going to tell anybody how to live their life, but that's just kind of what I prefer. So I'm going to take the Anastasia Beverly Hills. These are discontinued, I know, because the reason they're discontinued is because they were wonderful, these little trios of blush, but the adhesive for the pans was garbage. And like they were falling out and breaking like immediately. This is the blush trio in Peachy Love. I'm going to take this middle tone. Try not to just have it come out. And so, remember how I was like, I find my blush different. I'm different. I'm not like the other boys, like that shit. So I don't do that like round blush thing, apple of the cheek thing. I don't do that. I don't know many people who do that anymore either, unless that's how they were taught. I also don't really love like the streak of blush. I like a blush to look natural, like you're naturally flushed and like just, But I also have to be considerate of how I'm trying to shape my face. Because I'm trying to slim my face, if I go really wide with my blush, it's going to just enhance the apple of my cheek, and it's going to undo some of the work that I've done. So you kind of have to just like play around with your face shape and what you desire. So I actually do kind of like a vertical, just kind of like in the middle of my cheek, I'll do like a little vertical moment. And I don't do a whole lot of blush, but you could go crazy and do a lot more blush with this technique, and you could blend closer and closer to where you've got your contour and everything, and the outer part of your face if you wanted to go like a lot, but it still would give you that same effect. So if you like a lot of blush, but you want to try this particular application, you could do that. Now, just like contour, I feel like blush looks kind of weird if it's just by itself sometimes. So what I'll do is I'll usually take that color and I'll just put it kind of like right around like the edges of my forehead. I don't know, I've developed some weird things over the years. Maybe I'm just like a little weirdo. I know I'm weird, but it just, for me, it just highlights that this is a color that your face naturally produces, therefore making it look a little bit more natural. Okie dokie. So I don't really use highlighter anymore, and didn't really use it in its height that much either. I wanted to, but it just never looked right on me, and I was always like, wow. But some people, and most people, still really like to use highlighter. So I'll show you where I would apply it if I would apply it. So I like to apply highlighter with a kind of like an inch, my ideal brush, and I know what brush it is, I just gotta be able to find it, is about an inch long in bristles. It looks kind of like an eyeshadow brush that's just really like long in the bristles, and it's fluffy. So let me see if I can find it. It was like the brush to use in 2016. So this is it. This is the Morphe M501, the infamous. So I am taking this Wet n Wild. Wet n Wild really served hard, and they still serve hard. They've got one. Mine's broken as hell, I think. But this is the like Wet n Wild Blossom Glow. They still have it. It's so good. It's just like it's so good on my skin tone. But there's a lot of different highlighters, different tones, multi-chromes, or just all kinds of stuff. So have fun with that. That's a really small place where you can do like a high impact change in your makeup. Same thing, kind of that second place I applied my concealer is where I'm going to apply my highlighter. And I'm also going to apply it above my brow bone, or like right above where the arches of my brows would be. And I'll also show you a little trick. So I'm also not going to apply it like inside my like eye bag. Like that's not going to help anybody. But I'm a lot more controlled, and it's almost like a spotlight of highlighter rather than like a big old streak. So see, I'm like, look at me. I'm sorry, like my ability to function as like a normal human being is depleting rapidly. And I'm not using a lot of this product. This will last you a million years. So I'm just gonna, you don't have to be as careful here. But I do find that because at this point, I am very matte all over, so it's really noticeable if there's just a streak of like metallic or shiny on my face. So like really focus on blending. Don't just throw that shit on there because people look at you and they know you look like a weird, crazy person. So just focus on blending. You can take all of it off of your brush by just brushing on the back of your hand and just kind of smooth it out and blend it in. If you really want to tone it down, you can put face powder on top of it. So here's my little tricksy trick. You don't have to do this if you don't want to. Something that was very frustrating to me in the height of highlighting is that when people would highlight the top of their lips, they would just do like all up in here. And to me, that looks so crazy. It's so crazy because what makes lips look full, if you want to highlight above your lip, what makes lips look full is not having a white mustache. It's enhancing the height of the distance or like the dip of the philtrum that you have. So you've got like these two higher peaks, and then you've got the little valley where I have my piercing, right? So taking a brush. This brush is silver. No, I don't care. Oh my gosh, it's never ending. Sorry, I really need to clean my brushes. So taking a much smaller brush, or it doesn't have to be that small if your lips aren't like the size of a baby's lips, like mine are. Mine are near microscopic. So I've got a small brush, very controlled, and what I'll do is just go along the line that's like the peak of that. Now it kind of looks like you have like a cold that's metallic. If you do it that extremely, you don't have to. I just wanted to show you, and it's a little hard with a lot of metal going on here. So you can just tap it out. You can apply more makeup. Do whatever you want. And then you can take that same small brush, and if you overdraw your lips, do this where like above where you overdraw your lips. If you don't overdraw your lips, do it at your cupid's bow. And then apply the highlighter just kind of right in between your cupid's bow. And so instead of having this like big white mustache, you've now applied it in a way that like will make your lips look bigger, not just a big old shiny mustache. Like, I know that I have always, when I start sweating, like my upper lip gets sweaty. That's what it's always looked like to me. So when I saw people doing that, I was like, God, is this video just me talking shit about people? I really don't want it to be. I'm just trying to say what I do. I'm sorry. Sorry. So that's how I would do my highlighter if I did highlighter more often, but I don't really do it because I don't care. Because I have gotten less oily with the better products, which is great. But before I was getting so oily, it's like, well, why would that shine on my face when I'm gonna be shiny in like an hour anyways? So I also use I use a setting powder, setting spray and a finishing spray. And you might be like, oh my gosh, so many steps, I'm gonna die. I understand, and it might be overwhelming. Take it all in stride, take what you want, leave the rest, right? So I use the Professional Super Setter Spray. This stuff is really good. Like, I've tried so many setting sprays that have only made my makeup look worse, or they just did absolutely jack shit. This one helps significantly. But the big daddy of them all, the one size On Till Dawn mattifying waterproof setting spray. This is basically hairspray for your face, except it's made to be on your face, unlike hairspray. Some of you might have used hairspray in the past or may still use hairspray. It's not the worst trick, right? Because like it does work. However, this, I assure you, you'll like it better. It's more expensive, yeah, but so I ideally would have a fan, which I do not. So I'm gonna use a makeup palette. So what I like to do, so and now I have everything on. I have my blush, my contour, like so. If you wanted to do eyes, you can. Um, if you have done your eyes and you're about to set, I would suggest doing all of this before you put mascara on, because that is a pain in the rear. Uh, but especially if it's not waterproof. But but yeah, just don't put mascara on before this step. Um, but you can do your eye makeup. That's cool too. So, ouch. And then I like to fan it, just to help it dry a little bit faster. And also just I feel like it does make a difference. It might be totally psychological. I don't know. It's not necessary, but it does feel like it does something. Like it feels like if you had just like wet drops on your face, which this is a very fine mist. But if you did have like drops on your face, it would just make the makeup look worse. With other like less fine mist sprays, I have noticed that it does make the makeup look worse. So maybe that's part of it. I'm not quite sure. This stuff is very, very good. And it's got two tops, which always annoys me because it feels very beautiful. And then this one, it dries immediately. So I don't douse my face and make it wet when I do this. Like, I'm not like, but maybe you have found that you like to apply more and it does work for you. But I don't find that I need that with this particular spray. And now I'm going to use this. I don't think I'll ever get used to that one. And it definitely feels like you're breathing in a bit of hairspray. But when I say it feels like you put on like Kevlar on your face, like in the best way possible for your makeup to hold, that's exactly what this feels like. And I've done like hot pride events and drag makeup with a lot of grease paint. Grease paint loves to move and just slide all down your features. That spray, like that combination of spray, has changed everything about my makeup. So, say what you will about how silly it is. Just saying a word. So, I hope you all enjoyed this. I know that this wasn't like, I probably could have gone bigger, and some people like to go bigger, some people like to go smaller. Some people will skip all of this and be like, why did I watch this super long video? That's cool. But I hope you enjoyed this, and if you have any questions about the base, let me know, and I will film kind of some other features later on. So have a good day. I'll talk to you later.